What's up, fellas? It is currently 6:20 a.m. my time at recording this video because I want to get out a NBA trade deadline predictions video. We've got, 7 hours left until the trade deadline. I've got my phone right here on the off chance that someone gets traded during this video, but I have some predictions. Nothing's happened yet, or at least nothing notable unless you count, who just got traded? DeLon Wright going to Sacramento. Unless you count that, nothing notable has happened as of recording this video, but I'm going to go through some of my predictions for the day. But quickly, before we get started, one plug. I'm going to be live, link down below, bottom of the screen right here as well, from 11 a.m. Eastern time today until 4 p.m. Eastern time today, all throughout the trade deadline. We'll just be kind of hanging out. If you guys want to come over there, say what's up, talk about whatever trade deadline stuff is happening. Of course, I'll have at least one video out this evening, but I'll also be live at the thing at the bottom of the screen as well as in a link in the description below if you guys want to check that out for a little trade deadline live stream. With those things said, let's go ahead and get started. So, first things first, everybody wants to know what's happening with Victor Oladipo, right? I'm not fully confident in some of these predictions, but here's what I'm thinking. Oladipo is 100% going to be moved. That's one thing that, if you ask me one thing I'm most confident about this entire trade deadline, it's the fact that Victor Oladipo is going to be traded. Now, where? There's so many different possibilities. I'm thinking right now, Dallas or Philadelphia. Dallas, has been starting to play better. They're getting some of their guys back. They've got some assets that they can, give back. Josh Green, whatever the case may be. Young player in a pick, expiring, James Johnson might be enough to get it done for Victor Oladipo. Meanwhile, Philly could trade. There's a package going around, including Isaiah Joe, Tony Bradley, and a pick, and Danny Green. I think the Victor Oladipo package is going to end up being something like that, where you give up a first and an interesting player, and that'll be enough to get it done. And just looking at the assets of those two teams, I kind of think he's going to end up there. Or a dark horse third team there would potentially be Denver. But the bottom line is Victor Oladipo is getting moved today, and we'll kind of see where he ends up by the end of the day. Next up, Aaron Gordon, another big name. I think he's getting moved as well. There's been some rumors that maybe he's reconsidering his request to leave the Magic after requesting a trade. I think he's being traded as well. I think there's been too many rumors at this point, too many things flying around, and it makes too much sense for too many teams where it feels like half the league wants to trade for Aaron Gordon. I think he's leaving, and I think he's going to Boston. I don't think the deal is going to include Marcus Smart. Boston Celtics fans almost had an absolute heart attack over the fact that Marcus Smart was apparently in trade packages in exchange for Aaron Gordon. I don't think the package is going to include Marcus Smart, but I think that Boston has enough to give up where it's pretty feasible for them to be able to get Aaron Gordon, take him into the trade exception, give up some young players and picks, and add a guy to the roster. I think would be really, really interesting. And maybe I'm just hoping that this will happen, but I think ultimately Aaron Gordon is going to be traded today to Boston. Related to the Magic, I don't think Vucevic is going anywhere. There's been some buzz, but I don't think they're motivated enough yet, nor are other teams willing to give up what Orlando wants to get in return for Vucevic. So ultimately, I think Nikola Vucevic is going to stay put in Orlando. Another big name, another name that has been thrown around a lot this trade deadline is Kelly Oubre. I think he's getting moved. I just don't know where. It seems like the Warriors are desperate to make an upgrade or just make a move on this roster, and he's pretty much the only guy they can make a move for, assuming they're intent on keeping James Wiseman in the Minnesota pick, which of course they are. And then Wiggins would be the other guy that they could move, but it seems like all the buzz is around Oubre. I don't think it's going to be as a part of an Oladipo trade package. It seems like the Rockets were the team pushing that interest more than the Warriors were. But, I could see a variety of different scenarios in which Oubre gets moved. I think he does get moved today. The Raptors, a team that has been surprisingly in the rumors. Before this year, I don't think we would have expected them to be involved in, trading away players' rumors as much as they have been. It seems like, and this has been a really tough thing to predict and kind of get a feel on at this point, it seems like Kyle Lowry is staying. Yesterday, there was a weird Woj rumor about the fact that, don't count out the Lakers as a potential Kyle Lowry team. That threw me off. I mean, that would have to include Schroeder and KCP to make the salary work. I don't think there's any way that happens. And yeah, he could end up in Dallas. He could end up in Miami. He could end up in Philly. But I think ultimately they're committed to keeping Kyle Lowry because they're probably going to try and re-sign him this offseason. And I think if they traded Kyle Lowry, it'd be the ultimate admittance of defeat of this season. And I don't think they're ready to do that, especially considering the play-in game is a thing. I don't think that Toronto is willing to give up on their season. I think trading away Kyle Lowry would be an indicator that they were willing to do that. Now, the other guy on the roster that's been thrown around a lot that I do think is going to get moved is Norman Powell. There's a lot of different teams that are interested in his scoring ability, his shooting ability, some defensive stuff that he does as well. It's going to take a bit of a significant return, nothing insane, but it's going to take, a nice pick or a nice player or something like that to get Norman Powell, but I do think he's going to be moved. One of the few players on this roster that has a long-term contract outside of the main guys, and someone that is going to be valuable to other teams, but to Toronto, is a nice player, but they've got other guys that they can kind of throw out there and develop and just kind of get some value out of Norman Powell moving forward. I do think he's going to be moved. Keep an eye on the Lakers for that spot. Keep an eye on, again, like half the league. All the teams you're normally hearing about trade rumors, Miami, Dallas, Philly. I don't think Brooklyn's a possibility. There's a rumor going around about them potentially involving Spencer Dinwiddie in a trade in exchange for Norman Powell. I mean, I could see that, but I highly, highly doubt that any teams around the league are going to want to try and help Brooklyn any more than that team already has, talent, things like that, trying to add depth to that group when they're already adding every buyout player, on the face of the earth. So keep an eye on Norman Powell. Speaking of buyout players, I'm convinced LaMarcus Aldridge is getting bought out. Drummond, I think, is as well, but there's been some late buzz about potentially the Knicks. To me, this is more so the case for Drummond than it is for Aldridge. I think Aldridge is just, people aren't as interested, but I think for Drummond, like, he's been on the shelf for a couple of weeks now, and I feel like the rumors would have been more substantial rather than this team. It seems like rather than, teams are progressing on a trade for Andre Drummond, it's been, here's a new team, which tells me that people aren't really interested, and the Cavs are trying to drum up interest constantly. I don't know if he's going to end up being bought out, but if I had to guess, I would say that Drummond will be bought out today, and I'm more confident even than that in the fact that LaMarcus Aldridge will be bought out today. They're going to try and find a trade package for either of those guys. Maybe they end up with the Drummond package from last year, which is, a second-round pick or something in exchange for either Drummond or Aldridge. But ultimately, I think both those guys are going to get bought out today. And then last up, I think that Indiana is very oddly being thrown into a bunch of different trade rumors here, and I don't really understand it. Indiana's not a bad team. They just had some bad luck with the fact that they traded Oladipo for a guy in Karis LeVert that wasn't able to play right away. I think they're going to be fine. I don't think that they're moving Brogdon. I don't think they're moving Sabonis. LeVert is staying. Maybe they'll make some moves, kind of around the edges because their expenses are starting to kind of creep up there. But ultimately, I don't expect Indiana to make any kind of significant moves with their main guys today. Other than that, I think we're going to see some activity today. I know people are getting frustrated because they feel like nobody's getting moved, right? But I do think that there's going to be some activity. I do think that we're going to see at least a handful of significant trades, because this has happened in the past. When the D'Angelo Russell trade happened, we were kind of disappointed at the fact that, there were some major moves, but not anything crazy. And then the D'Lo trade happened. This always kind of happens where we get close to the deadline and we're like, hello, one of the trades actually going to start going through, and then we get a couple of surprise ones that haven't been leaked, because we've all been primed for all of the rumors and all of the leaks, but not every team leaks out the players they're approaching. Not every team tries to drum up interest through the media. Some teams just work behind the scenes, and then suddenly there's a trade that comes about that we are completely shocked by. So I think the big one today is going to be Oladipo, where he ends up. I think Aaron Gordon is going to be secondary to that, and then you kind of go down the list of Oubre, Norman Powell, guys like that. The one I would be probably most surprised about today among the guys that are being heavily rumored about would be Nikola Vucevic. I just don't think Orlando's ready to do that. I think that they're okay with moving Gordon because I think that they're getting a lot of interesting trade packages potentially in return for Gordon that could even be included in a 3-team deal involving Oladipo that doesn't send Oladipo to Orlando, but it's just been kind of a rumor going around. And ultimately, Boston's going to make a move today. I'm fully convinced of that. If they get past today and their roster is the exact same, their fan base is going to get cut in half. They're going to quit. They've got to make some kind of, literally, B-Soul has tweeted, he was like, this might be my last night as a Celtics fan. I think they're just so fed up that they're going to make a move. Now, hopefully that move is something more significant than trading for like the Kings move where they traded for DeLon Wright. Hopefully it's more significant than that, but ultimately, whatever happens, you guys know I'll be here later today with at least one video and then some videos over the next couple of days covering all the different trade stuff that I'm convinced is going to happen, and these are my predictions for the day. But with all those things said, thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. As I said, if you guys want to hang out with me during a live stream today, it's down at the bottom of the screen, down in the description below. Come hang out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a like rating. All that good stuff. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Thursday. Have a great trade deadline day, and I will see you all next time.